This is Weird Renegade Witches blog. Hit us up when you want some real motherfucking work done. Of course, you already know that one-on-one monthly lessons have already started. Hit me up in reference to one-on-one monthly lessons. However, it doesn't stop you from contacting me for one-on-one lessons I do with individuals in connection with their life goals and whatsoever frequencies that they're going through at that time. However, understand that work is not one-on-one lessons. That is a separate frequency. However, at times, of course, it go hand in hand, but at a separate frequency. So understand that art is occultism. Occultism is a motherfucking art, and wayward is about that revenge, redemption, responsibility, and that motherfucking spell work. You know, I always talk about that underground indie type of spiritual work. However, I've been watching the world of what we call occultism. And I had to kind of sit back for a moment and decipher who am I and what do I do. And I realized I am not an occultist. I am a spiritualist and I handle spirits. And the bottom line, I'm an expert at spirituality and what I do. Some of you layman motherfuckers will say, well, that's occultism, not what the fuck I do. And spirituality and dealing with spirits and being an expert in it is a different type of beast. And what it is what it ain't. However, when I'm doing my one-on-ones, I'm doing spirit coaching and spirit thugging. However, when I went back and I really started to examine what is occultism, and I realized the whole world is occultism. And this universal soul motherfuckers are out here occult thugging. They are occult punking. They are occult gangsters. And we're not even realizing that we're being occult bullied. However, it has uprooted and birthed a new type of occultist. Basically, occult butching, occult dyking, occult stimming, occult all of that, right? Occult studs. That's a whole other thing. In this universal soul, we've been straight occult thugged. There's so much going on behind the scenes that they have you so distracted with Trump. Trump is also a distraction of them not telling you what's really going on, right? They have you distracted with this whole nurses and financial aid syndrome. But there's something underneath it. There's something underneath it, right? So let's just kind of look at how the occult thugs are playing with us. Since the pandemic, there has been a strong focus on nurses, even so that they fired them during the pandemic. In the conscious world, they were pushing nursing, all of that mess, right? But there's something underneath it. So out the blue, they were saying, of course, Black women die in childbirth. They don't get the care that they needed or that they need. I call cap at this point because hospitals are not trying to be sued. And so as of lately, they've been giving us stories of Black women rolling into emergency and then being denied entry. I call cap on that too. Okay? And this woman had her baby by the road, and oh my God, look at the nurse ignoring the woman. That's bullshit. That is a stone cold lawsuit if we don't understand it, and it's being recorded. Because when they roll you in, I'm not saying all, but when they roll you in, especially if you rolling in an emergency, they automatically rolling your ass up to labor and delivery. Automatically. And I said, this stories, these Black women using them as foundation on bullshit is leading up to something. So then they pop out talking about their financial aid. What is it? The Grad Plus loans. That's for people who's going to get their masters and PhDs, which is still a loan that you have to pay back. Talking about that they now looking at nursing as a professional type of job. It's like, okay, what's really underneath this, right? That second pandemic, which was the federal shutdown, you have to go back and re-examine that occult thugging, like occult thugging. So they shut down the whole system to reset the system. Meanwhile, people getting paid off in other countries and money is being sent to Venezuela so they could still be so they could still thug over there with their drug shit. and America's investment in different locations of the world to make sure the drug scene keep popping and going. They want to make sure that drug scene in South Africa is going. They want to make sure that drug scene in Nigeria keep going. They want to make sure that the Mexicans are working and doing their job as they're playing in your face with this occult thugging. Anyways, they don't want to talk about that a lot of this is checks and balances. They don't want any more people who does checks and balances. Look at your job. Look at the federal jobs. These are people who are supposedly supposed to be checking the checker to check them and check them again. Checks and balances. So they're getting rid of those people, which leads and tinkers down into the nursing system, as the nurses and a lot of the people that they have on that list are mandators, what they call mandator reporters. Because they're in this new world that they're pushing children to be sexualized and trafficked and kidnapped from parents, there's a checks and balances. You have social workers, psychologists who are mandators, checks and balances. Nurses are checks and balances. Nurses tell on the doctors and run the hospital, checks and balances. If they're getting their master's and PhD, checks and balances. We better start really looking what's underneath that. What is very, very interesting to me, I think America and Americans use some punk bitches, because why aren't you asking for an accounting system of where the fuck our tax-paying money is going? Our monies pay for financial aid. Our monies are invested. We are investors in America. But the problem is that we didn't make a deal with the devil. We as women make a deal with the devil. When we go and get married and sign that fucking marriage certificate, you made a deal with the devil. When we sign those birth certificates, we didn't make a deal with the devil. So when you go signing these documentation and they enforce it, you didn't made a deal with the devil. So therefore, if you just signed off your child's name to whatever, and then they're out here trying to get rid of these supposed mandators, your child just gone. They can, like they've been doing, you could birth your kid and next thing you know, they'll lie and say your child been kidnapped about the dang hospital. Or your child and died. But in reality, they done sold your child off in the hospital. And a lot of those nurses are third world, Filipinos, Africans, for reals. At least where I'm at. A lot of those Africans are getting their RN and LPN and LVN. Filipinos are good for it. Being an LVN nurse. And then opening up a home health care, or being a CPS provider. Basically being caregivers, taking your kids. There's a situation right now that I'm working on, and they're about to traffic this woman's kid to Kenya. Adopt her child off. Her court-appointed attorneys are part of it. The judge, what's her name? Haggard or whatever her name is. Contra Costa. The caregiver is requesting to take her child to Kenya. I said, oh, hell no, that's trafficking. You're still in fighting for your life or for your child. They're out here railroading parents so they can traffic your kid in CPS, which they've been doing. But now they playing in your face because they got these third world motherfuckers watching your kids. They lied to her and told her she didn't have any more rights to visit her child. I was on the call and I said, forward those documents so we could read them. And we can have other people read those documents. We go reading the documents, it doesn't say anything like that. And this is Contra Costa Adoption Agency. They working in-house. You got that interesting stuff going on, what is it, in Maryland or DC area? With the whole home health care energies of third world motherfuckers taking care of American people, American elders, and letting them rot, die, be filthy dirty. Yeah, they don't want any more mandators. Matter of fact, they love having third world people because third world people are grimy. Some of them are grimy. Not all, but they grimy. They don't give a fuck. You're an American. You have too much privilege. And you're an elder. These motherfuckers will let your grandfather run out in the streets in a fucking diaper. And then when you're like, hey, what's going on? They're looking at you crazy. They don't want, let alone American people, to be part of the system. Just say that you want to hide shit. Just say you want to start trafficking and you don't want any more checks and balances. And they are intentionally fighting the American people to steal your kids, steal your life, steal your wealth. They have all of your information around the world. And you have third world motherfuckers or people in other countries looking at your wealth and conning you. Looking at your bank account. You talking about destiny swapping? That's destiny swapping. You're too privileged. As riffraffs want to be privileged. They have you such under occult thugging that you're not even realizing that riffraffs are telling you that you're lower level. You ain't shit. You're too privileged. But meanwhile, they want to be privileged. That's a cold game and a cold spell. Occult thugging. There's such a hostile energy in the universe, and you keep trying to do work to flip it and turn it, flip it and turn it, but you can't flip it and turn it because it's so heavy. I follow this black woman. I don't know. She's in Louisiana, and I think her channel or her I think she's on Facebook. I don't know if she's on Instagram, but I think she's on TikTok. But I know she's on Facebook, I believe, and I think she calls herself Diva something. When I go to her page, her mother name is Norma, and her mother's very hippie, got big butt. But she has dementia. And there's something going on that I think her mother is kind of getting a little worse. So I noticed that her mother walks around the senior home, or the facility. But I noticed, I said, okay, they have her name on all her clothes says Norma. Then also on her door it says Norma. I was listening to this person on social media that's some kind of not a neuropsychologist, but some kind of dealing with the neural research. And he was talking about Trump. And he was talking about how Trump's behavior spells dementia/Alzheimer's. And he was pointing out the bruising on his hand, and how that could be connected to some kind of IV energy of medication that is used to slow down the process of dementia. And then he pointed out his son in another video where it looked like he had a stroke. I said, he's right. And then he pointed out the White House, of how colors, big words. And I said, yeah, to remind him that he's the fucking president. Then I started to be on some other shit that I was like, is this Bruce Willis acting? Because we know there's like 3 different type of Trumps. So not only do we have a person who's incarcerated in the White House, but we have a person allegedly suffering from dementia, Alzheimer's. He has a hallway called, what is it, the Hallway of Presidents, the Hall of Fame. And he has this strong issue with Obama and Biden. All them racist ass presidents, some of them black. George Washington, one of them. That's above y'all pay grade. George Washington was not a white man, or we'll say biracial. And what is that other president, 24th and 26th president, or whatever that is? Cleveland. And they created Trump's whole existence like Cleveland. And they talk about him saying he was the worst president, a rapist and a child predator. Fits the build. We're so distracted, we're not even tripping. When you go read the whole energies about the nurse and the financing, it keeps saying former President Trump. What the fuck are we looking at here? Again, something being worded stating former President Trump. What is happening in this universe? I read that to a spiritual constituent and she was like, what? But as American people, we have the right to ask for an accounting. You got banks tripping, banks stealing money, your money flying in the universe for a couple of days, about for up to 7 days, and then it appears. All these people being financed, they want to keep fucking around with federal money, which is your money. And we're not asking for an accounting as we the people. They have restructured history to make you forget history. And to make you forget that things had already happened when it happened. I wondered why they're up here pushing Jeff Bezos' ex-wife, what's her name, Mackenzie, Miss Eugenics of the Year, who donated to black colleges. And out the blue, in the last couple of weeks, it uprooted itself. I said, what the fuck? They divorced in 2019, and she announced around 2019, 2020 that she donated to black colleges back then. So why are they uprooting, bringing that up again this year in 2025 when that shit already happened back then when she got that big settlement from Jeff Bezos? Why in the fuck are they telling us about Praz or Praz or whatever from the Fugees being sentenced to 14 years? What the fuck are you talking about? That nigga was over there sentenced years ago when DiCaprio testified against him in that drug trafficking case and whatever else was going on. I thought he'd been sentenced. That was back during the pandemic, I believe, or a little bit before that. Somewhere in between, but he was in court. So where in the fuck has he been all this time? Where has he been sitting? And why is he being brought up? And all they do now is give you pictures. You don't even get to see the live people anymore with cameras running past the news people. They just give you a picture and tell you, yeah, this is it. They are playing with us big time with our heads. I was speaking to a spiritual constituents, and they were talking about the military, how the military is ghetto as fucking whack because a lot of the elders have basically retired. But how Elon is going to come in and take over the military, some parts of it, and for sure turn it into 100% Starlink. I say he's uprooted. And they're restructuring the military, the American military. But the American military have a lot of third world people. And I'm hearing that they are just accepting anybody with any type of mental. But I had no clue that they were pushing out women out the military. As you're distracted with this occult thugging in this universal soul. Right? We have all of this shit popping off. I was listening to someone talk about Betty Ford, President Ford's wife. I said, I like that woman. She was a stone cold alcoholic and she did opiates. So I guess that's why they had the Betty Ford clinic. She'd drink every fucking day. That's why I said them witches, and they got rid of that East Wing to get rid of the first wives or whatever they call it. You want to get rid of Betty Ford, Jackie Kennedy, and them. Want to get rid of them witches. Or are you trying to tell us that some of them are not wives? Some of them are men. I want to know who in the fuck is really running the government. Who's the real president? I want to know why the American people are not requesting an accounting, and especially the Department of Education. We need an accounting. Our tax dollars finance this. Where in the hell are our monies going? If you go in the grocery store, your tax dollars, that's where it goes. Your taxes. You pay taxes. They played in your face about the whole food stamp bullshit. Where in the fuck was the surplus for the food stamps? They sat up and distracted you with all this bullshit and used black women and shit as a gameplay. Sacrifice them, and I'm so tired of them sacrificing black women. But where in the hell is the surplus? Why would you ever stop any type of aid? I really don't give a fuck who gets the shit, but where's the money? Where's our tax dollars? How in the hell does our money funnel into this? And you have motherfuckers saying, no, we're gonna occult thug this shit and say, no, you ain't getting shit. But the American tax dollars run it. And then where's the backup monies? Can we have an accounting? Can we understand the bank accounts that it runs through? Can we see the different components and where this money was financed? Where did it travel to? Whose pockets is it paying? What country is it funneling into? We should have an accounting of that. You closed down a whole government. You created this pandemic shit. Where's that money where's that pandemic money? Are we so brain dead that now they're saying that shit shouldn't have happened? Occult thugging. This is what you call occult thugging. Using occult procedures to shut down a whole government and steal your money and steal your children, steal your wealth, steal your prosperity, moving other motherfuckers. Occult thugging, sitting up there using this Trump motherfucker as a ritual, knowing that he's either sick, dead, or in jail. Playing in our face using AI and making us believe that these people are human and they're really walking around the universe. Occult thugging, right? That's what it's called, the Presidential Walk of Fame. Oh, I was talking about Grover Cleveland, the 22nd, 24th president that has the similar energies as Trump. Then you got Kash Patel fucking using a SWAT team or military to protect some woman. The fuck? Then we have another issue of distraction, occult thugging. We need to go back and look at that now New York mayor. Can we go to his parents? The student advisor. His father is a student advisor at Columbia. And I'm sure at this point, I don't know if he stepped down since his son is famous. From inside information, people who know them, who sat at their table at Thanksgiving, I'm going to say there's some thievery going on. And there's something to look at these colleges. And when I was discussing with the person, I said, hey, do you notice that it seemed like there was a sacrifice? Are we noticing that when they start hijacking motherfuckers, kidnapping them with that ICE mess, it was around this time when he was stepping up to run for mayor? That's above y'all pay grade. You got to understand the connections. And there was Columbia students being kidnapped and kicked out of America. I have people that I know who went to Columbia who was underneath him. Underneath Zohran's father. Those people can't even find jobs. So when we call destiny swapping, that's what you call destiny swapping. Having intel and insight on students that you work with where you could steal their thesis and dissertations and create books. You better start looking at some of these professors and motherfuckers at these Ivy League colleges. I forwarded over something to the person that I know. And I forwarded over Zohran's father and mother. And basically she said they act like baboons and they're in a different light. And I said, no, they just sacrificed the whole student body for their son. The person or people are saying Zohran is a dum-dum. He's just a setup. He's not real. I've been telling you this. But we don't want to connect it. We're going to say allegedly Did his father take students' credentials and their work and mold and create this person that we see in front of us as New York mayor? Maybe we should look at some of his works, his wife works. Maybe we should look at all of these famed professor works and who and what students did they pull and steal from. I said, I asked her, I said, you should do a survey if you can of Zohran's father, the student advisor. How many of those kids who are underneath him during Columbia, what type of jobs are they doing? So therefore, we have to take a second look at these Ivy League colleges. And the work that they've stolen. These professors and stuff. What is the real reason you want to keep black people out of these Ivy League colleges and push them into black colleges? What type of testing do you need to do now? Another Tuskegee experiment? Where you have white investors investing into testing? Right? Again, as we're distracted. There should have been an outrage, really, among black people when they played in your face. Then they played in your face again with this whole hemp bullshit. We all know that hemp was brought over, and it is very much indigenous and ancestral. But here's the gag. They want you motherfuckers so high on some ketamine and microdosaging that they playing games with hemp. There's so many ads talk about ketamine, 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 ketamine. We have pregnant women using ketamine during pregnancy. The fuck? You guys out here now realizing that they're reinventing humans and creating asylum-based addictions. They don't want to tell us that a lot of those people in them streets are from asylums. The homeless are even saying, who are you? They've been saying this. They've been talking about this since freaking 2016. And the homeless are saying, these are different people. We don't know where they came from. And they have a different type of addiction. Right? They're using the homeless and the drug addicts as art. Homeless art, drug art. Understand all of this addiction and all of this frequency that is happening is creating this occult environment which is trickling down on us. This mental ward behavior. I was looking at some of them interviews of Tasha K. Only reason why I did that is because Waka Flocka Mama was threatening her. And I said, what is up with this nigga threats? Right? I went back because we already know that Tasha K is a whole hack. And she is the epitome of what they call of occult reporting. And I'm going back and I'm looking at her. I said she looked like she was in special ed. Her behavior spells it. Then I started to understand that she is the special ed whisperer of IEPs, because she understands how to translate the IEP talk. And I said, how come everybody who she interviews sounds special, sound like they have ADHD, autistic, Down syndrome? And we didn't catch this shit? Are we not catching that a lot of the new age ballroom scene is special ed and IEP based and autistic? I said new age ballroom. She was interviewing this kid. I think he called himself the DL Whisperer. He comes up on my social feed. And the way he speaks and how he comes across is autistic and Down syndrome, like a mongoloid. And more as I start listening to those people who call themselves homosexuals, why are we not catching that? I'm not saying all. I'm saying let's examine. Even the ones who call themselves trans. Should you be in an asylum? Should you be on medicine? Should I be talking to you? Are you a mongoloid? And we're out here watching this bullshit on social media and not realizing they're mounting retardation on top of us. How do we entertain this? You talk about me speaking ebonics, but you niggas out here watching IEP shit and listening to niggas speak in IEP language. I came to the conclusion when I'm listening to homosexuals speak, I said they're not speaking because they're not talking like that because they're feminine. They're talking like that because their asses are IEP humanoids. And we're listening to this galactic shit. This new type of energy of talk. And these niggas out here special as fuck. And she interviewing them? That's not ebonics. That's IEP language. That's why y'all out here stupid as fuck. And under the effect of retardation. As they punk you and occult thug you. That whole system is occult thugging. I had someone talk about the arts to me. They're out here stealing people art and doing drop shipping art, stealing their shit, and then not asking them, not talking to them, not even paying them, and doing drop shipping art of their art and sending it out to people. I had someone get angry with me because I said I'm studying dyke studs and lesbians and their behaviors. Then he had the audacity to tell me that I want the energy of a dyke. I said, ooh. No. I want to study the occultism of them. I want to study their thugging. I want to study how they bring in an atmosphere. I'm not talking about lesbians. I'm talking about this atmosphere of women who use occult thugging to trap other women, or to get at other women, or to be aggressive towards other women. And they're blanketing the midwife and doula world. And they're using occultism to push it. I had someone tell me that I work with that they were an occultist. And then I had to kind of sit back and say, oh no, I got to separate myself from this type of thugging. Some of you young ladies out there better be careful of them type of people. These type of new age dykes, studs, and as they say, stems. Because that's a new artistic world. And they're pushing in and they're taking over. And they're creating their own culture and group, and you can't even walk into anything as an artist unless you're under that scope of occult thugging. And if your art does not fit their occult thugging mentality, you just ousted. You're not seen. They have brought John Waters' energy into the world. Freaks and geeks, freaks and gooks, freaks and goblins. When that was a whole subculture and underground world, that's the new art world. And who's supporting that shit and financing that shit is some Indians and other Russian-like third world energies. And they're creating this new freaks and geeks and culture. Like I said, go look up John Waters. That whole energy of outcasts. They have created this new world of art of being a whole bunch of outcasts. Then when I'm bringing in, of course, the studs and dykes and whatever else, they're leading the occult world for women. So you're getting this masculine energy in front of the feminine woman. All right, do you not understand? More and more and more I keep hearing all of this energy of women getting their ass kicked by other women. But then I'm also looking at how these group of women have created their culture, their occult thugging. Haven't you guys been seeing that interesting energy on social media with these masculine ass women, especially black women? That's a cult. And it's a scary one. But it's a form of occult thugging. They're creating this new type of neuropsychosis art. Everything is a neuropsychosis. Right? Black men out here talking about, I'm a witch, and I'm a this, and I am a clairvoyant. I'm a this, and I'm a that. And black men are full of it. I'm a witch, I'm a this, I'm a that. No, you a bitch nigga. You shouldn't be around here talking about you a fucking witch, Negro. And trying to put an analytical spin on witchery. That's because you're an occult thug. We have most black men are occult thugs. Men are occult thugs. You don't even know in your fucking house that you being thugged out under occultism with a man. That's why I'm bringing up these dykes, studs, and stems, because they act like them. A male pheromone in the house can throw your whole existence off. You being present in front of a man can throw off your whole energy. You could be powerful at first. Then once his pheromones and you get a whiff of that energy, that nigga start occult thugging on you. His dirty clothes alone can fuck you up and have you turned. No, as women, we should not be around all that masculine frequency. Because it turns us. We got these new type of black men out here talking about they witches acting like little wallflowers. And we understand what a wallflower means, but I'm saying it in a different way. The fuck? Blueface got out of jail. Who's that nigga? I don't know who that person that they call Blueface, but that ain't Blueface. Just like I know that's not 50 cents. I don't know who that man is that they didn't do plastic surgery on, that you could see the plastic surgery marks on his face, but I don't know who that man is. That is not fucking Blueface. They need to take that baby and never show it again, because I don't know what that is. I'm doing a video. I don't know what that energy is with Krishan. I don't know who that woman is. This is what I'm talking about with social media. They're insulting us, talking about Nicki Minaj at the United Nations. I don't know if that's an AI. I don't know what type of games they playing in our face. I don't know why they have that uneducated woman up there talking about some shit like that. I think it's very much an insult. There's too many people who are highly intelligent and degreed up that's supposed to have that type of position and enroll. I don't know what that is. Another energy is, I want to know what is their existence with the Kennedys. It's like they're really trying to bring them down. I had a spiritual constituent was explaining something to me that now going forward in each run of presidency, they're going to try to make us not remember what happened years before. I'm like, whoa. Meaning this, like this president came in, you know, this turned everything around and trying to get rid of history, get rid of everything, right? So just imagine the next 4 years, another motherfucker running and do the same thing as this one, and this is going to be the new role. Every time a new president come in, they're just going to erase history as if it didn't exist. As you guys are distracted. And when I go back to the Kennedys, they're trying to erase that whole existence of that family, so much so that they got RFK up there. They talked about him bad. The Kennedy family. We already know the history of them are very intrigued. Jackie Kennedy, that mama, she have hella money. And she left her kids hella money, you know, except for that son dead. But it's like as if they want that wealth. They want something. Right? They had us out here looking at that Kris Jenner party. Who gives a fuck? I'm more interested of her existence with O.J. Simpson and what's her name? Faye Resnick. Was Kyle there? Those are the real, that's her real friends. I see what's her name father was there. Her real father. You see how the families of was it Nicole? Was it Nicole Brown? That they still trying to sue OJ's estate. What's his name? Ron Goldman. His family going to sue the estate of OJ Simpson. I said, if they don't stop trying to take that man's estate, knowing he didn't kill that woman, we need to talk to Kris Jenner and them. We need to talk to them. We know what Ron Goldman was really doing. We don't even know if that's even Kris Jenner. They got Jeff Bezos and his wife all up involved. I'm so tired of them. Now they're going to be the Met Gala. I said, oh, we just might as well shut that shit down. Makes you wonder about these people. My whole thing is that I want to know the old Kris Jenner, you know, the Jewish woman. And I'm still questioning if those are all Robert Kardashian's kids, the way he treated them. They didn't lie to us and told us Black China's back with Rob Kardashian. No, she not. We don't even know where he is. That's where I'm at with this. Because when you walk down that rabbit hole with Kris Jenner, Frey Resnick, and all of them, and Nicole Brown, Ron Goldman, you want to mind your business because you don't want to get caught up in anything that is ugly. Portia arrested at the airport. Mia arrested at the airport on a warrant. Just say they all prostitutes. Let's say that husband and wife Wendy, they pimping and pandering, prostitutes and trafficking dope. Portia friend with that African, now they're under investigation filing bankruptcy. Right? You heard about that story about that black woman, a young lady that allegedly was jumped by some little girls. I said, if they don't stop Occult thugging us, I said, that look gang related. That look paid for. I've seen that shit before. I don't believe that story one bit. They just have y'all believe in any fucking thing. And in Chicago, you already know it's some bullshit. They have us out here believing that some white boys was going to take over Haiti. No, I'm going to watch Haitians because I want to watch their connection with the Indians. I was telling somebody, I said, it makes me think as if Indians are on some revenge, redemption, and responsibility because they mad because voodoo, obia, and Christianity fucked them up. So they're getting rid of and got rid of everything that's connected to that. I heard that part of Jamaica that was fucked over was a spiritual part of Jamaica. It's like everywhere that has any type of spirituality, occultism to it, or history, they wipe it out, then build shit on top of it. I was told that it was so similar to what happened to Hawaii. I don't believe any of this shit. Just like that underground railroad trafficking, children trafficking in Alabama. Remember that story of that border with that white man who kidnapped them kids, that his girlfriend's kids, and was trying to take them to Alabama or Mississippi somewhere? As we're distracted and they keep occult thugging us. They keep wanting us to believe that Young Thug came out as homosexual. We don't even know if that's Young Thug. He looked like a whole dyke. And when he gets on stage, he looked like a dyke with breast. Allegedly. I don't know what that is. That's on the same energies of Blueface and 50 Cents. I was looking at Paris Hilton. I said, dang, they got her a slave. Them Kardashians. What the fucks? She used to treat Kim Kardashian like shit. I guess the Hiltons, that Hilton money is getting thin. But she talked about how they used to run her ragged and traffic that vagina. Just like they talked about allegedly with Zohran, how he was same thing. And this energy, as they keep talking about nurses while you guys sleeping, I started doing some research because somebody brought it to my attention. They out here pushing OCD pregnancies and shit. People out here with OCD. I said, that's old school shit. What? They are invested in pregnant women. It sounds like they are invested with black pregnant women. They want to scare you alive also of going to the doctors and stuff like that. To say, you know, some of y'all go to midwives, but you got to be careful some of these midwives. Because they be doing spell work, and they'll do spell work on your kid. Not all. Just make sure that you check them out. I have a doula. You guys, I'll be happy to give you the information to her. She's vested and verified. But they've created these new type of midwives and doulas, and some of them are very strong dykes and shit. And other women are complaining about the behaviors of them. We have a conversation of the real fucking world was being talked about. Because they occult thugging. We don't want to talk about the midwives who are occult thuggers. And they want to bring in this new type of birthing. Yoga birthing. Hertz birthing. Manipulating your child in your belly as they play with sounds to fuck up your kid on the inside of your belly. Abortion doulas. Death doulas. Maybe some of these black women, baby deaths is connected to something else, to spell work. Do you know how many women that I've worked with have to get work off their babies in their bellies during pregnancy. And especially between 2013 through 2018, you had a whole bunch of women, especially some Gen Zs and millennials, out here doing pregnancy deaths and pregnancy abortions to make women lose their babies. Black women. I know Latinas will do it. You have more and more black females online showing their babies dying at childbirth. And it has nothing to do with what the hospital has done. That story of the woman who was pushing her baby and they used some kind of speculum, whatever, pulled the baby's head off. And then the woman only gets a $1 million or $2 million for that. If that story really happened, that was spellwork. This is above your pay grade. Understand when you're pregnant, that's the best time to do work. You wonder what's going on with your child. Meanwhile, you got bitches over here working on your kid. Told you that's the best time. So if you ever need some of that, spells and cult thugging work, right? I've been studying Zionist Jews in Hebrew. I'm still in effect of research. As I'm really starting to research Zionists, more and more I realize they didn't play games with black people. We are the Zionists. And we don't even know it. We done got fucked out of our inheritance as being Zionists. They made that word bad. You're a Zionist, especially Middle Easterns. No, when you start to research, you start to understand we are the Zionists. This above your pay grade. I'll get more into that later. The psyops are the Jews because they are the hybrids. But we should never have an issue with no Zionists because we are that. That's what happens when you don't study. Right? They were talking about how in America we have lost our color and we have went under this energy called millennial gray. I said, what the fuck is a millennial gray? Then I started to peep shit. They have and are building buildings that are just gray and nouveau nudes, right? Everything is blah and bland. They were talking about how cars used to have color. I said, for sure, cars don't. They're either black or they're either white or they're either kind of grayish. There's no more color in the world. Our clothes are dead. Everything is dead about us. In New York, I was looking at some of the apartments. They created fucking apartments that look like offices with a fucking office kitchen. They made it look like a workplace. They built a lot of these houses that way. Houses with no character, no function, just dead to the world. Now that's a killing of art. Do you know I just learned what they call those people, neo-virgins or whatever, basically autistic people. Do you know that they have created fashions for autistic people so they can feel and touch. And that's why we have cheap ass clothing that's, polyesters, rayons, all this cheap ass shit. Because these special needs people out here who call themselves autistic need some kind of stimulation, so they created these type of clothes that are cheap, that can help them stimming or give them some kind of function. Do you know that white mega people are worried about their money and they're not shopping? What they telling you in the media is not true. They not spending money. These white folks are not spending money. Mm-mm. That's a lie. And the clothes are very cheap, nylon. I said, bitch. They're out here creating this energy of prison goth. They've been showing us this alleged video or whatever of Puff Daddy. I said, that's not Puff Daddy. Stop showing us this bullshit. I'm more interested of how they done got a hold of his daughters and prostituting them out, though. I'm just to the point that I'm like, fuck all this shit. They lying in all social media. What's that kid named DR? What's it, Dead? Or DRAD? First they said they wasn't going to throw charges on him about the girl being in a Tesla. Now they're throwing charges on him. Now she was frozen in the car. My question is, does he exist? Or was he an AI? That's the question. I had no clue they're out here creating fashion for autistic people. I said, no wonder. I've been getting more and more people saying, I just feel uncomfortable in this universe. You should. Candy Burns and her husband Todd Tucker are divorcing. About time. But what I'm more interested about was Tasha K stealing her energy. That's another. Now that's destiny swapping. You want her life, so you say you're gonna steal her energy. That's what I was trying to tell you in so many words about what's his name, Zohran, and his mother and father, and how his father did some destiny. That's what you call destiny swapping, when you take people's energies, meaning their works and so on, and then go and mount it and put it on somebody else, basically stealing their life. Tasha K basically outright said, I'm stealing her life. But we should have known this was coming, right? People out here tripping that representative, what's her name, Margie Taylor, is stepping down in January because she was a whole hack at the door. She's an Epstein woman. And you know, Epstein, that whole Epstein story is just a myth. She's just a trafficked woman that tried to get on American Idol. That's her. That woman has demonic ass energy. I wonder, see, there's something going on here with Gucci Mane, And in a minute, they're going to lock his ass back up in the psych ward, or this person who they're pretending. Because, you know, they already said, the person said who plays him, that's not him. But we're going to look at this for giggles and laughs. Gucci Mane's wife says she deletes his social media and changes his password when he has schizophrenia episodes. Stop trying to play in our faces about this bullshit. When are we going to come to the conclusion that Brian McKnight ain't shit and he's an ain't shit nigga? This nigga wrote, I was never in love with my ex-wife, which is the black woman. Our sons weren't made from love. Kevin Spacey is homeless. No, he's just back in the psych ward. Is it Khloe Kardashian? That's whose father was at the thing? I think it's Khloe. Did you see Busta Rhymes in that dress again? Donald Glover didn't have a stroke. He didn't have a stroke. Are we tired of the brat with the same hairstyle? What type of occult thugging is that? Right? Anyway, this is Weird Renegade Witches Blog. Hit us up when you want some real motherfucking work done.